It's raining heavy tonight, which is perfect because I've got 3 stories to help you relax. These ones are a little different. They're not quite horror, not quite history, but somewhere in between. So get comfortable, close your eyes, and let's begin. The first story tonight is The Village That Stopped. Did you ever hear the story of the village that stopped? Not burned down, not abandoned, not destroyed by flood or famine, nor war. It just stopped. The story is old, older than most. The kind of story that exists in fragments across different cultures, different languages, different centuries. The details change, but the core of it stays the same wherever you find it. There was a village, small, unremarkable, the kind of settlement that exists only to sustain itself, that one day simply ceased to function. Not all at once, but gradually. It started with the animals. The livestock stopped moving at dawn the way animals do. They stood in their pens and fields, not distressed, not ill, just waiting, as if they were listening for something just below the threshold of human hearing. Then the children stopped playing. Not because they were told to, not because they were frightened. They simply lost interest in everything they had cared about the day before. They sat, they watched, they waited alongside the animals. And then the adults stopped working. Within a week, the entire village had simply paused. People sat in their homes and in the street and in the fields and looked at nothing in particular. They ate when food was placed in front of them. They slept when darkness came, but they initiated nothing, wanted nothing, and waited for something none of them could name. Travellers who passed through described it as the most unsettling place they had ever walked. Not dangerous, not threatening, just absent. Like the soul of the place had been quietly removed and nobody had noticed. After a month, the village was empty. Not dead. The people were found eventually, scattered across the surrounding countryside, walking slowly in different directions. None of them could explain where they were going, and none of them remembered the month they had lost. None of them ever went back. The village still stood, the buildings were still intact, the fires were cold, a meal on a table somewhere, untouched. Nobody ever established what happened. The traveller who had passed through all reported the same detail independently of each other. In the centre of the village, in the space where the well had been, there was a sound, very faint, very low, like something humming to itself, patient, waiting. Some places develop a presence over time, something that accumulates in the ground, in the walls, in the air above an old settlement. Most of the time it sleeps, but occasionally it wakes up hungry. Story 2. The Cartographer's Note. ever hear the story of the cartographer's note? This one comes from the early 1900s. It's not quite history and not quite legend. The kind of account that sits in the gap between the two, where the truth is hardest to verify and the easiest to dismiss. The cartographer, a map maker, was commissioned to survey a remote stretch of land in preparation for a new road. This was standard work for the time. He was experienced, methodical, not given to imagination or exaggeration. His colleagues described him as the least likely person they knew to report anything unusual. He spent 3 weeks on the moor alone, and when he returned, he submitted his survey maps without comment. Accurate, detailed, professionally executed, the road was built and the commission was closed. But tucked inside the survey maps, folded carefully as if placed there deliberately, was a single handwritten note. It wasn't addressed to anyone. It wasn't signed. It just read, "There is a section of this moor, I have marked it on the accompanying sketch, where the compass does not behave correctly. I assumed instrument error initially. I replaced the compass twice, but the behaviour persisted. The area in question measures approximately 40 yards across. Within it, sounds from the outside do not carry. Sounds from within do not carry outwards, and I established this through careful testing. I also established that time does not pass at the same rate in sound the boundary outside it. I spent what felt like an afternoon within the marked area. My pocket watch agreed. My colleagues, who had been watching from the ridge, reported I had been standing still for approximately 4 minutes. I do not know what this means. I have marked the area clearly on the survey map, and I would strongly recommend the road avoids it." The road was built as originally planned, and the marked area sits directly beneath the 3rd mile of tarmac. Nobody who commissioned the road ever saw the note, and it was found decades later during an archive clearance. The cartographer himself retired from surveying shortly after that commission, and he never gave a reason. Some things get built over, but that doesn't mean they stop being there. Story 3. The Missing Hour. Did you ever hear the story of the missing hour? This one is recent, and it's recent enough that the people involved are still in life. They're still living in the same town, and still not talking about it publicly, which is part of the reason why you probably have never heard it. A group of 4 friends in their early 20s with unremarkable lives, the kind of people nothing unusual ever happens to, drove home together after an evening out. It was a 40-minute drive through rural roads, and a route 3 of them had driven dozens of times before. They arrived home an hour and 40 minutes after they left. Not 40 minutes, 1 hour and 40 minutes. They all noticed at the same time when someone checked the time, sat in the driveway comparing watches and phones, certain there had been some mistake, but there was no mistake. Somewhere on that 40-minute drive they had lost an hour. None of them could recall anything unusual. The drive felt normal. Nobody fell asleep. Nobody stopped. And the car showed no extra mileage beyond what the journey should have been. Just an hour was gone. Now they didn't talk about it publicly, because they knew how it sounded. They talked about it privately, obsessively, for months, going over every detail of the drive, every road, every turn. One of them, the driver, started keeping a journal, recording every detail she could remember about that night, every sensation, every thought, every fragment of the drive. 3 months later, she found something in the journal she didn't remember writing. A single line in her handwriting on a page she had no memory of filling. We saw something on the road. We agreed not to remember it. She showed the others. None of them remembered agreeing to anything. None of them remember what they saw, and they still don't. But the driver told me something recently that she hasn't told the others yet. The dream started about a month ago, every night, on the same road, in the same darkness, and something on the road ahead that she almost remembers. She told me that she's thinking about driving the road again, alone this time, at the same hour. I told her I thought that was a bad idea, and she said that she knows. But she's going anyway. That's where the story ends. A mystery. I'm going to leave you alone again with the rain, and the screen will gradually get darker for those of you that are still awake. Whilst you get comfy and relax with the rain, think to yourself, what is on that road? Where did the hour go? I'd be very interested if you have any thoughts or any speculations. Please let me know in the comments, and maybe we can discuss and trade thoughts. I'd be interested to see what you think. Of course, in story 2, with the cartographer, it's very difficult to try to understand what actually happened, and it leaves the door open to interpretation and of course mystery. So if there's something about story 2 that maybe you have an idea for, let me know. And the same goes with story 3, the village that stopped. I personally think that's the creepiest. And I think that's the one that you can really speculate for hours and hours about what could have caused it. So yeah, feel free to get some comments going or get some discussions, and I'll let you know what I think as well. But that's it for tonight. 3 mysteries, 1 ancient, 1 almost forgotten, and 1 that's not forgotten enough. Just remember, whatever is out there in the rain tonight, it isn't here. You're safe, and you are warm. If you liked today's video, please give me a thumbs up, and maybe just let me know in the comments. It really helped me out with what I'm doing. But for now, I'll leave you with the rain. Thanks for watching, and sleep well.